when the world is in crisis. And people are looking for hope and answers. Thai PBS World is there with you with the best minds of the day. Join us on Thai PBS World tonight, every weekdays at 7 p.m. Thai PBS World, we bring Thailand to the world.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Good evening. Welcome to Thai PBS World tonight.
And I'm Nad Bonak and Kun Tilip Naksomphop Lau is joining us right now.
So we're going to start with the news of the new finance minister. After a lot of speculations and rumors, finally today we got a new one. Mr. Akom Termpithaya Phaisit, he actually was a transport minister after the coup in 2014. Today, His Majesty the King endorsed Akom Termpithaya Phaisit appointment as a new finance minister, succeeding Pridi Dawchai, who resigned last month after only 20 days in office. The Royal Command endorsing the appointment of Akom as a new finance minister was published in the Royal Gazette on October 1st. Akom has served as a transport minister in Prayut's government formed after the 2014 military coup. Before that, he served as a Secretary General of the National Economic and Social Development, now known as the National Economic and Social Development Council.
And that's the latest politics. But recently, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha today has expressed the hope that the major rally, which was planned by anti-government activists for October 14th, will not turn violent. He said any violence would not be good for the country, especially in the face of the current coronavirus pandemic. Student activists have called for a rally on October 14th to put further pressure on the government to comply with their demand for a new constitution and a dissolution of parliament. They also want to see an end to what they allege to be harassment of government critics by state authorities. However, one of the protest leaders, Anon Nampa, has vowed to also raise the demand for a reform of the monarchy at the rally. The planned rally is a follow-up to an earlier mass rally at Sanam Luang on September 19th, during which the protesters pressed their demand for a sweeping reform of the royal institution. Meanwhile, a recent opinion poll shows that the majority of Thais are opposed to ongoing assaults on the monarchy by anti-government protesters. According to Superpoll, as many as 96% of the respondents said verbal attacks on the royal institution that marked most of the anti-government rallies are not acceptable. Also, more than 97% are also against political instigations.
Come to another news. It's actually pretty big in Thailand. It has been going on for a couple of days. It's about Songkhla Zoo. There's a lot of things going on there. We're not sure yet what it is. Even the minister himself said it's too early to conclude anything. So it's too early to conclude that the disappeared wildlife from the zoo actually sold to wildlife traffickers. The Natural Resources and Environment Minister Warawut Silapa Acha has told his officials not to jump to the conclusion that wildlife missing from Songkhla Zoo were stolen and sold to black market traffickers until there is a credible evidence. Warawut said that he would rather wait for the results of the investigation by a fact-finding committee headed by Chawalit Chukajon, the chairman of the Zoological Park Organization of Thailand. It became a big news when two albino barking deer went missing from the zoo in the southern province of Songkhla in February and September. The horn of a dead white rhino also went missing days after that, and it is suspected that it was sold to wildlife traffickers because it is in high demand and it can be sold as a traditional medicine and fetch a very high price. So this week, because it's become the news, because there was a leaked document showed that Warawut, the minister himself, was dissatisfied with an initial probe into the disappearance of the rare albino barking deer. So Songkhla Zoo director Chalerm Wut Kaset Somboon said that he had obtained photos that indicate that the deer was eaten by a Burmese python, but His assertion was received by skepticism, so a lot of people doesn't believe that. Minister further said that several macaques also disappeared from the park some time ago, so a lot of things have been disappearing from that zoo. I hope that we find out soon, but previously, what happened was at the zoo was that the director of the Zoological Park Organization of Thailand, Suriya Sanpong, was shot dead in his office on Saturday. The suspect was chief of the conservation and research section of the Songkhla Zoo, Puwadon Suwanna. The Suriya who was shot, he was conducting an investigation into the missing wildlife. And Puwadon, the suspect, was one of the officials under investigation. He had been transferred out of the zoo pending the outcome of the probe. Puwadon was later found dead at his lodging in the compound of the zoo in an apparent suicide.
And that's the latest on the Songkhla Zoo saga. And we have to see how it really goes and the investigation as well.
Things cannot keep disappearing.
Right.
I mean, it cannot just vanish from the earth. It's a substance. It's going to go somewhere.
Right. And talking about tomorrow is October the 6th, and that has been like 44 years since the October 6th massacre, and that was one of the highlights during the Thai politics. Right today we will be taking you back to what the October 6th massacre is all about.
In 1976, Southeast Asia was in geopolitical turmoil as communist forces took control across the region. A year earlier, Thailand's neighbor Laos had fallen to communist troops who ousted the monarchy while North Vietnam won the Vietnam War over South Vietnam. In neighboring Cambodia, a genocide was taking place under the ruthless Khmer Rouge regime. Thailand was struggling with a communist insurgency of its own, along with political instability and economic problems. Prompted by the October 14th uprising's success in bringing down a dictatorship, many Thais took the streets to demand a more just society. The protests were given a boost when a word spread that two widely vilified leaders exiled after the uprising were heading back to Thailand. In mid-August of 1976, Field Marshal Praphat Darusathian reportedly had returned. 3 days later, around 10,000 protesters marched from Sanam Luang to Thammasat University and camped there overnight. More students joined the protest, prompting Praphat to leave Thailand again. The Thai government led by Seni Pramod at first declined Thanom's plea to be allowed to return to help take care of his father. But 2 weeks later, Thanom landed back in Thailand. He quickly headed to a temple in Bangkok and ordained as a monk before visiting his sick father. The following month, a heated parliamentary debate failed to agree on what to do with Thanom, prompted Seni to resign. However, Seni was reinstated as prime minister 2 days later by royal command. On September 24th, 2 bodies of Vichai and Chumphon were found hanged at the Red Gate in Nakhon Pathom province. Police tried to blame the murders on a personal conflict, but student leaders uncovered photographic evidence of the crime's political nature. Student leaders then issued 2 demands for Thanom to be exiled and for the murderers of Vichai and Chumphon to be brought to justice. By the end of that September, more than 20,000 students gathered at Sanam Luang near Thammasat University. Other protests sprang up in the provinces. Many of the protesters were attacked by right-wing thugs describing themselves as patriots. On October 4th, Seni revealed that a group of policemen were behind the killings of Vichai and Chumphon. On October 5th, the Bangkok Post published a report and photo of a student play about the hanging of Vichai and Chumphon, but the right-leaning newspaper published the same photo, claiming one of the students shown hanging bore a resemblance to the Crown Prince, headlined, "Stomping on the Hearts of Thais Across the Country." The play's performers came forward to clear up the confusion, but by then several right-wing radio stations had started calling the protesting students insurgents. Tensions finally boiled over on the morning of October 6, when security forces surrounded Thammasat University and opened fire on protesting students. Ultra-right-wing militias joined the attack and stormed the gates of the university. Students were beaten and killed on the spot, or dragged out and lynched on neighboring Sanam Luang. The official death toll was 45, including 5 state officials, with 145 injured, though unofficial accounts say upward of 100 were killed. Some corpses were hanged and beaten in front of angry crowds. One image taken by AP photographer Neil Ulvik encapsulates the senseless brutality and madness of that morning. A mutilated corpse dangles from a tree in Sanam Luang as a man gleefully smashes the lifeless body with a folding chair. In a chilling detail, the photograph also shows a boy standing and laughing among the onlookers. Ulvik's photos of the incident earned him a Pulitzer Prize. No one has been punished for the bloody massacre or for the hanging of the 2 men on September 24, 1976.
And to commemorate the 44th years anniversary of the massacre, tomorrow there is ongoing a temporary museum at Thammasat University Thapachan campus. The museum is called Khwan, literally mean hang, which present the factual accounts or provide a step-by-step guide of the atrocity and the milestones that led to the October 6, 1976 massacre. The meaning of the word Khwan, of course, is obvious, mean hang, but it's also a slang in Thai, which means suspended, referring to the suspensions of justice and also emotions left hovering. One of the highlights of the museum is the Red Gate from a house in Nakhon Pathom province, where 2 dead bodies were found hanging on September 24th of 1976. The discovery of the corpse sparked big protests and a momentous mock play twist. The museum also uses mixed media, including augmented reality, to unveil the sights and sounds of the events on October 6th. A creative technologist at King Mongkut's University of Technology, Thonburi, and a key contributor to the exhibition, Priyakon, said that this event presents the facts for experience-based learning. They also hope that young visitors will seek more knowledge of October 6th events after they leave the exhibition. Other key contributors are Thanaphol Ilsakul of Pha Diew Kan magazine, Panaphorn Phuthong, who was produced documentaries and an archive of the events of October 6th at doct6.com, and architect Benjamat Winitchakul. So the exhibition runs all this week. If you're interested, it's finished on Sunday. However, between October 4th and 6th, it will also feature seminars, musical performances, plays, and video presentations. So if you happen to be in the neighborhood, or if you want to know more about October 6th, it's a good event to check out at Thammasat University.
And this is definitely a good opportunity for especially the younger generation to learn the history of Thai politics as well. And just so you know, these are the stories we've also been following.
Thailand recorded 5 new cases of COVID-19 today. All of them are returnees from India, Malaysia, Bahrain, and Japan. The new cases raised the total number of infections to 3,590, with no new recoveries nor fatalities. The government is considering how to further ease travel restrictions for people who want to enter Thailand for business or investment purposes. Government spokesman Anucha Buraphathai said today that easing entry for business people would help lift the economy. So far, the CCSA has permitted around 11,000 foreign business people and work permit holders to enter Thailand. All of them went into alternative state quarantine for 14 days when they arrived in the country. Parents of students who were assaulted by their teachers at Songkhla Vitet Rajaput School filed a petition with the Office of the Attorney General to seek protection. So far, the case has 33 victims, and 23 have taken legal action against 13 staff members who were captured on CCTV physically assaulting students. Meanwhile, the teacher who was sacked for abusing her students recently filed a police complaint against parents of a student for assaulting her.
I have to say it become a big news because of the social media, because there are evidence, the CCTV camera, the footage so people can see and people share, so it become an ongoing, and right now 33 victims, and I am sure there will be more. So we just have to wait and see. And this is not, I believe, not just one incident. There must be other children in other schools that experiencing not that much different things.
Well, there might be more incidents before this school, but because of the power of social media, then this issue became widely discussed. And because of this, people are discussing a lot more that children have been assaulted and what they're going to do with it as well.
So today we have the psychologist, I would say, Associate Professor Dr. Suyadel Tripati. He is the Director of Moral Center of Thailand. He is in the line with us right now. We'll talk about children and trauma and how can we help. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening คุณดนยาดาคุณแนท and also คุณกิรติกรคุณทุลิป and everyone.
So we have heard the news about this abuse that's going on in school with the small children. Of course, I believe there'll also be with the bigger children as well, but it's a big concern, and we believe that probably will have some effect when they grow up, right?
For the short period, it is yes. But I hope that if after we stop all those kind of traumatize with love and attachment, and also in the safety place in family, this will can be healed. I mean, all the mental health can be healed. But they can remember. I mean, if the kids they grow up more grower, they can also recall that something happened. But I mean that it will not ongoing process. We are trying to stop this kind of assault.
So you said it can be healed, but we need the professional help, right?
Right. It needed for psychologists and also all the team, such as we are working as a team. It is a holistic team. It's containing about many persons, such as social worker, working with also psychologists, and sometimes maybe also needed for the psychiatrist working on it. And they can also, and the main point is also the family. They are all now in the family. Because we have to stop this kind of traumatize for the children.
So why are we seeing more and more teachers using violence against children?
It's unluckily, I'm not sure about the system of this school, especially for this school. I'm not mentioning about the whole. I mean, this is maybe work for the Minister of Education. They have to look around. He has to look around. He has to set up a very qualified surveillance survey the whole nation. But I mentioned only this school. In this school, in my opinion, I propose that the school should have stop for kindergarten right now for a period, short period of time. Why I propose of this? Because this system is a little bit failure and the mind system is also the default. Because if you look at the teacher, they have no experience to classroom management. If we call about the early childhood, usually they have to use the positive discipline, not in the negative punishment, right? And they have to emotional control day by day. That is also head staff, head master of in the kindergarten. They have to control, and they have to set up some kind of surveillance in each day by day to prevention this kind of assault. But what you and all of us learn about this clip, such as if you look at from the video clip, CCTV, you learn that a lot of happening is not only in the same teacher, it's
Right.
also different teacher
Right.
and different class in different room. That means kindergarten of this school is also should to be improved. It must be. It's not only should to be.
I feel
And
like it's
they
more
have,
like a culture there or something.
It's not the culture. It's mean a mis mindset.
Right.
I think the first thing of the teacher is they have to miss mindset. I mean the wrong mindset. It's not the right mindset. They have to learn about actually in Thailand we have also early childhood legislation. The first legislation for early childhood. If they look, if you all of us look around and learning from the early childhood, we mention about the loving, care, education, development, and also child protection. So this is the main point. They have to set up the new mindset for the whole teacher. What is the new mindset? The first one, they use the positive discipline to classroom management, not the negative and punishment. And the second mindset, they have to new mindset to set up. They should use the learning through play, not like a high stake pace.
Right.
Highly competition. It's not fit for the early childhood, such as only 3 or 4 or 5 years old. They are not old enough to these high stake tests. They have to use learning through play. And the third new mindset to set up in this school is also how they can set up the what kind of school system, such as all those kind of care, education, development, and also surveillance system in the whole school.
So I have a question for you as a parent. I mean, I'm also a parent. What would be an obvious indicator that a child is actually going through some kind of difficulties or something wrong at school?
For the first thing, the parent should do is use the loving care, tender loving care, to care about those healing mind wound. I mean, the first thing the parents should do, like in protection, safety place, protection place, and the other point, they have to look around if not, not reliability for this school. Connect to the Ministry of Education and Office of Basic Education. They have their role. They have to find out the school nearby, or maybe that is also very qualified about the safety place and learning through play systematic to development. And the third thing, also for the parents, they can also what kind of gathering, such as any kind of thing, they can also use the law to protection these kind of thing.
But I'm talking about small children that some of them cannot communicate. If they're going through something, some kind of traumatic event, how can parents tell?
You cannot directly ask the question to the little kids.
Yeah.
They cannot understand, and might be also be repeated about the traumatized, right? So usually what we introduce about use the art, music, and playing role, and storytelling, and why. Let me example, such as if you use the art, such as draw about the picture of your school in your mind, or maybe the safe place in your mind, who is important person. Maybe some of the kids they may draw the very bad, very bigger of the teacher. You can also ask why this teacher is very big one. Something about indirect question, not the direct question to the kids, because maybe parents also be traumatized. The other point, should stop the video clip on social media.
Right.
It is a lot of in social media. It is also be traumatized again and again. So what my opinion, every social media, including the main media, should have to stop about the show video clip protection child protection, according to the child protection right.
And based on your observation, when children became victims of violence in classrooms, what are the most common mental health issues that you've seen in these children?
It's according to the what kind of trauma they get. I mean, what kind of the trauma. If you see in this kind of event, usually it's physical abuse, like a punishment. So the first thing is damage on the body, such as how hard, how degree or the level of traumatization happening. And the other point is also the mental health, such as if the teacher use those kind of violence, some of them may be serious stress, crying, behavior change, not become like an easy child, become a difficult child. So all the parents, they can also observation their kids. Their kids is also change the behavior. They cannot sleep. They might have a nightmare. If this kind of behavior be changed, that means something happened. And you can also use indirect question according to the storytelling, or might be music and art, to ask from the children what happened in the room.
You just mentioned physical abuse. So how can we be sure that what they've experienced is only physical abuse and not emotional abuse? Because emotional abuse, it will stay with them like forever compared to physical abuse.
I think it's definitely related.
Yeah.
I mean, physical abuse is you can see from the physical examination of the medical doctor. And the other point, you can also have evidence from the CCTV. Other else also you can, if you ask from the kids by the indirect question, maybe you have also know a little bit about. From the emotional abuse is also be a little bit deep and also be a little bit hard. It be a psychological case for each kind of according to the development of children. I mean the mental health part, they can also use the psychological test for each children to evaluate about how emotional abuse is also be, how hard it is, how difficult it is, how deep it is.
We were talking about seeking professional help. And in Thailand, we cannot deny that it's such a taboo for getting talked to the psychologist or getting treatment, that kind of thing. How can we make this more, make it become more normal? How can we normalize seeing psychologists for children?
The first point is a little bit difficult because psychologists, we have a limited person. I mean, it is not so much for the whole country. But luckily, we also have a system. I mean, the system is also not only be a psychologist. We call like a one-stop crisis center. It's integration between Ministry of Human Security and Social Development, working with the Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Education, and Ministry of Health, such as Mental Health Department of Ministry of Public Health. This kind of one-stop crisis center, you can also calling for help in any hospital of the whole nation. They combination between social worker, nurse practitioner, and also psychologists, because some of the area we know that very limited about the psychologists. You cannot easily do appointment for the psychologist, but you can also use the social worker and also nursing and from the Ministry of Health, Human Security and Social Development to calling for help.
I have one question that I'm quite curious about. There's a Thai belief that says รักวัวให้ผูกรักลูกให้ตี love your cow, tie them up, love your children, just hit them. How has this belief encouraged adults into using violence against children, or how does it reflect the authoritative nature in Thai society?
Yeah, Kunat is asked very. It is also a very good question and also very tough question. Is not only for the Ministry of Education. It's also including me. I mean, this is the old mindset.
Right.
It's all I know about, and we have to change this kind of mindset. And we try to, if you're looking at the NGO, one of the NGO also working in Thailand is the Save the Children, and also working with the many NGO here, working with the psychologists, psychiatrists, Association of Thailand. We try to campaign about the positive discipline. But the main thing I know, because this kind of old mindset, they have easier to control. I mean, like a robot. You can also control the whole classroom with punishment, one punishment, right? Scolding them, punishment. But is really challenging for us and for also the ministry to how we let them know how. It is the skill base, not only the mindset. They know, they have no skill base to practice. And I know that is a lot of teachers in the whole nation. If you look at the 400,000 people, you cannot easily change them with one day or 1 week. Is maybe nearly it is year by year. But we try to do, and we also campaigning about that. If you heard about the brain executive function, if you heard about the positive discipline, it's also be luckily for this government, they announced about this kind of brain executive function, and plus with the positive discipline to let the skill base for all the teachers, the whole nation too. We are going to do this hard work too.
So you were talking about how we lack professional personality that's able to help children in treating them on their mental health. And UNICEF published a report that Thailand is still lacking professionals that would help protect children at a community level. I guess it's related to the same problem. So you were saying that you, with other organizations, have been campaigning about this issue. What else we can do?
It's not only campaigning. I mean, that is also like a workshop to let them have know-how, the skill base. It's not only use the mass media or media to let them concern about.
Right.
I mean, they have to have workshop, individual development plan. So this thing is also even private sector and public sector school, they have to know about this kind of know-how. One thing is for this kind of school is weakest point. I mean, the weakest point of this school is also, I'm not sure about the professional learning community they use or not.
Right.
And what is the vision of the headmaster of this school.
Right.
And what they, he enrolled going through looking around, not preventing from this kind of negative discipline. I mean, this is also the vision of the headmaster. And actually, in the educational system of Thailand, we also have a school administrative board. Actually, we have school administrative board. What I mentioned is, I'm not sure about this school, private sector. If they set up and this kind of board is not efficiently movement, Ministry of Education should look around and maybe also stop this kind of working and let them improving before open again.
So it sounds like we have tools, we have system, we have protocol, what to do, it just haven't been enforced. So I guess we have to go back to the education ministry to make something happen.
Yeah, it's approving about the system to system. It's not only in the head of the nation, I mean also in the local area.
Right.
Because that is also Office of Basic Education containing in the local, each of provinces, each of sub-district area, they have. I mean, this kind of thing should to be approved and also look around and quality assessment. Actually, they have also national standard for kindergarten and early childhood. We have a system. I think the main thing is law enforcement and also enforcement and approving all the system they have.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Suryadel. We are very happy to have you with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and and we all, everyone, we will go try hard for this kind of work, and this is also maybe the focal point to challenging something else for the Ministry of
Yes,
Education
hopefully
Yeah.
something will change. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
So like Dr. Suryadel Tripati said that we need to change the mindset of all groups in the society. We need more professional help, and we need to do something about the taboo that, we shouldn't get psychologists to help children.
Right, the mindset is actually the first thing that really needs to change here, because if we don't have the right mindset, we cannot make suitable changes and solve the issues that are going on.
In every level.
Right.
In every level. And that's all the time we have for tonight. This is the edition of Tonight Thai PBS World. And I am Tulip Nak Sompoplao.
And I'm Nat Bunak, standing off, and we'll see you tomorrow. สวัสดี
สวัสดี
ค่ะ
ค่ะ